An Apple a Day by Hyper-Me. Chapter 21. Raito folded the green strip of paper in his hand with experienced skill. His hands were shaking with anxiety, but continued to fold the paper. He would glance up every so once in a while, and then continue with a heavy sigh. There was a knock at the door. Raito immediately looked to the bed and frowned when he failed to see any movement. The door opened.
"Raito?"
his father asked.
"Yes,"
he returned to his folding.
"Are you still making those stars? You must have made 1,000,000 of them by now."
535, father. They help me relax. Soichiro entered the room and looked to the bed.
"So this is the infamous Hideki?"
L, father. You and I know perfectly well that he is L. He told me to call him that. Soichiro stared at the sleeping man's face.
"It's been a week now, hasn't it? How is he doing?"
Raito sighed, pinching the sides of the paper pentagon. His shoulder is healing up nicely. When he wakes up, he'll have some difficulty moving it. His foot is broken in a few places, but I was able to fix the compound fracture, and they should be healed within the next 5 weeks. His arm is healing, and the stitches should be coming out within the next few days. His stomach's bruises are fading away, finally. He examined his completed origami star and nodded, dropping it into the jar with the other 535. And of course there is also the coma he's fallen into.
"What about his back?"
Raito flinched. What happened to him? Raito demanded after coming out of shock. What happened to L? You know L, Yagami-sensei? Aizawa asked. God damn it, just tell me what happened to him! Raito roared, searching his body for wounds. There was a gash on his arm, a broken foot, a bruising stomach. What else?
"He posed as Isha's final victim,"
Mogi answered.
"There was a power outage and we lost him until just 2 hours ago. We found him like this."
Oh God, L! Raito moaned. Flip him on his stomach.
"You really don't want to—"
I need to check his entire body, Aizawa-san, he growled. Flip him! Mogi obeyed. His mouth dropped. His body shook. He felt cold. Raito, he read. He reached for the blanket and gently patted the wound. Raito shook his head from the flashback. Healing. Soichiro turned his attention from L to his son.
"Do you love him?"
What makes you think that? He asked, selecting a pink strip of paper decorated with hearts.
"You nearly died when we brought him in last week. You haven't left his side for more than a second since then. You're folding those origami stars again, a sign of anxiety. When you're not playing with those stars, you're petting his hair. I talked to Misa-san and Kiyomi-san."
I bet they told you all about him, Raito muttered as he folded.
"I find it hard to believe this is the same man that has been giving us orders for the past few months. Your nurses told me the most interesting stories."
There was a pause.
"Did he really force Viagra down your throat?"
Raito smiled. That's only because I did the same thing to him first. I believe his words were, never give a genius a reason for revenge and an extra pill of Viagra. The two laughed. Soon the room was quiet again. Do you think, he began, he'll wake up soon? Soichiro shrugged.
"You're the doctor."
Raito stared at L, and the need to run his fingers through his hair grew too strong. Comas usually last about 2 weeks to 5, but he trailed off.
"I know,"
his father answered. He finished up yet another star as Misa knocked on the door. Raito-sensei, Kiyama-chan and I are leaving. Should I turn on the radio again? Yes, thank you. Go home safe. He smiled tiredly at her. See you tomorrow, Raito-sensei. She left, leaving the lights on and the radio on. As predicted, there, as Raito dubbed it, song played over the intercom. Hopelessly, I love you endlessly. Hopelessly, I'll give you everything. But I won't give you up, I won't let you down, I won't leave you falling. If the moment ever comes. Raito cleaned around the stitches on L's arm, checked his stomach and foot, and replaced the bandages on his shoulder. He removed the gaze from his back, revealing the angry red scars. Raito tapped antiseptic along his name and replaced the gauze. He slowly turned L to his stomach, careful of his foot. He climbed into the cot set up directly next to the occupied bed. He reached forward and intertwined their fingers together, just like he did every night. It's plain to see, it's trying to speak. Cherished dreams forever sleep. Hopelessly, I love you endlessly. He awoke and scrambled out of bed. Raito's face fell when he saw the steady breathing of Elle's chest, still deeply asleep. He stretched, checking Elle one last time before going to the bathroom to change. While putting on his black sweater, he listened closely for any changes in the beeps that measured Elle's heartbeat. He ate his miso soup and white rice breakfast at the table in Elle's room, watching. Kiyomi arrived at work first. "You're up, Raito-sensei?" she asked in greeting. "It's only 6:30 in the morning."
"I couldn't sleep well."
She frowned. "All this worrying isn't good for you. Why don't you allow some other patients to schedule an appointment? You've been declining any proposals all week. Think of all the money you're losing."
"I can't leave him. What if he wakes up when I'm not here? Or his body goes into some sort of shock? I need to be here to support him."
"We're soon going to run out of money for you to support him. Just think how many appointments have been cancelled since we met out."
"We're still calling him Ryuga Hideki."
"That's not the point. We're losing money. The past 10 out of 16 Tuesdays were free except for one man. For one entire week, nobody scheduled because he blackmailed them all to cancel. There was that one day you decided not to come into work, and for the past week you've declined everybody to take care of him. That's too many sick days. We're going to lose business with customers."
"I took on 7 more patients every day for a month, Kiyomi-chan," Raito answered calmly, his hands fidgeting for a star. "Minus that one day I took off, and I had 189 more patients than normal. That's more than enough to support my time of watching over Ryuga." Kiyomi huffed out of the room. An hour later, Misa popped her head in.
"Good morning, Raito-sensei. I came early today. Is Ryuga-kun better?"
"No,"
Raito answered, folding a red and blue striped paper.
"Can I come in?"
Raito nodded. Misa smiled and sat down on the chair across from Raito's.
"I was talking to Kiyomi-chan before I came in, and
"She told you about how she thinks I'm wasting my time watching over him."
I don't agree with her.
Raito stopped folding and glanced up.
I think you should continue to stay with him, Raito-sensei. You're obviously really attached to him, and it would be devastating for you if you're not here when he wakes up. Not to mention, he risked his life for you."
Misa smiled.
"I know if I was in your position, I would be by his side 24/7 too."
Kiyomi doesn't understand what it's like to be in love, does she?
No, I don't think she does.
He dropped a green star in the jar.
"May he awaken soon,"
he whispered. Star number 600. He selected a yellow strip of paper with apples and cherries to be number 601. He began to start to knot as he heard a soft pounding on the door.
"Come in."
Good afternoon, Yagami-sensei.
Raito looked up surprised.
"Watari-san?"
The elder man smiled gently.
Just Watari, please, Yagami-sensei.
He placed his hat on the counter.
"Then call me Raito, please."
Watari nodded.
How was he doing, Raito-sensei? I'm afraid I didn't receive any news on Master L, so I'm completely in the dark.
He spotted the detective sleeping on the bed, his arm hooked up to an IV bag, his chest covered in connectors to heart monitors, and an oxygen tube under his nose.
Oh, dear.
"He's in a coma, Watari."
Raito stood up to stand next to the old man.
"Overdose of GHB. That drug can very easily be taken in large amounts without realization. Isha knew that and gave him 7,000 milligrams of it. El's very lucky he fell into a coma."
What are his other injuries?
"He had a gash on his arm that required stitches. His one foot broken in multiple places. He had bruises all over his stomach that are fading away now. He has an injured shoulder and—" He carefully turned L to his side and removed his gauze.
My goodness,
Watari breathed.
that's your name.
Raito nodded, grabbing new bandages.
"Nobody knows the real story of what happened to him. He was found unconscious and Isha was laughing hysterically until the moment he was caught.
Does he still have the drug in him?"
Most of it. There's really nothing I could do except wait for it to dissolve by itself."
Watari spotted something out of the corner of his eye.
That's quite an impressive jar of stars you've got there.
"Ah, thank you."
Is it for your anxiety over L?
Raito nodded.
L does that too, getting rid of his anxiety, and not using stars. He did for a little while, though. He saw you making them and decided to try them out. But mostly he'll eat a cake, work himself to exhaustion, and bite his thumb.
Watari laughed.
I've tried to break him out of those habits.
"Did he really stop eating sweets?"
Yes.
"He didn't want to see me again."
No, he watched you through video feed every second of the day.
Watari smiled, putting a comforting hand on his shoulder.
When you didn't respond to that kiss that day, I realized that he was only being a hinder in your life. He ate healthy, so you never had to be troubled by him again. Although at the moment it seems that troubling you is the only thing he's doing.
He's not troubling me at all, Raito insisted. The only trouble he's giving me is wondering when he's going to wake up and if he'll be okay.
So, in retrospect, when he visited you, you wanted him to eat healthy and stay away from you. But the second he does so, you wanted to gorge down cake and visit you every Tuesday.
In retrospect, yes. Watari chuckled and Raito sat down on his cot. Watari-san, do you mind if I ask you where you were this past week? Watari stared at him, making Raito feel quite uncomfortable. I mean, you and Elle are obviously very close to each other, and Elle had mentioned that he is an orphan, so...
Watari shook his head. I understand, my dear boy. You see, Elle is a smart man. He didn't want any competition for his title as world's greatest detective, so he created lesser roles.
Like the second and third-rank detectives? Raito interrupted, tapping his finger on his cheek. Roldo Coyle and Deneuve?
They are both the man you see sleeping right there, he said with a hand gesture toward Elle. The world might get suspicious if the top 3 detectives were to suddenly drop off the face of the earth. Elle told me to take over as Coyle and Deneuve for a while if anything were to happen to him. He had a feeling that something would go wrong after all.
But why did you wait a week?
The father was instructed to call me if they found Elle in critical condition. And if that were to happen, Elle informed me that when I receive this call, I must take over Coyle and Deneuve then, at the end of the first week, visit him.
But why a week? Watari smiled, his wrinkles crinkling.
My dear boy, I've known Elle for many years, and sometimes I still wonder what goes on in that mind of his.
Watari had left later on that day after telling Raito many humorous stories about his favorite patient. He never said anything too revealing, nor vague. On the way out the door, he promised he would stop by again the following week. Raito sincerely hoped Elle would be awake by then. He reached for another strip of paper. He admired simple white background nearly hidden by all the red and pink hearts and the many sayings of "Be mine," he sang under his breath as he created his star. It's plain to see it's trying to speak, cherished dreams forever sleep. Hopelessly, I'll love you endlessly. Hopelessly, I'll give you everything. But I won't give you up, I won't let you down, and I won't leave you falling if the moment ever comes. The star was finished, and Raito beamed as he dropped it in his jar. May he awaken soon.
Knock, knock, Raito!
He jumped, nearly knocking over his jar, and cursed loudly. God damn you, Sayu! His younger sister grinned.
I'm just trying to bring some energy into this place. Poor Ryunga-san is still sleeping, and that makes Raito very depressed. You gotta be positive.
Sometimes it's just hard to do that, Sayu.
And that's why I brought flowers.
She pulled a bouquet of flowers from behind her back.
Red and white roses. Your favorite, right?
Raito nodded as Sayu filled up a vase in the sink.
You also mentioned that Ryuga-kun likes roses as well. Maybe he'll wake up to the smell?
She laughed, placing the vase next to Elle's bed, fluffing up the roses. Thank you, Sayu.
That's no problem. Also, here.
She threw a small plastic bag at him. Raito got it and looked inside.
You said you needed more origami paper, so here you are.
Violins, apples, roses, cell phones, hearts, snowmen. Hello, Kitty.
I figured you needed happier ones than the plain rain and rain cloud ones.
I have heart strips.
And I bought you more of those too. See? Those are cuter than the ones you had.
Hey, I know you're trying to make this place a little brighter, but are pink strips with bunnies and chicks really not necessary? Sayu shrugged.
Hey, it was either those or ballerinas. I was also going to buy you Mickey Mouse, but they were sold out.
Raito thanked her and chose a green strip with multicolored hearts. Sayu planted herself on the cot. She nudged her brother with her elbow.
He's kind of cute. In a messy kind of way.
There was a nod in response.
So, do you love him?
God damn it, Sayu! You ask that same question every day.
And you always avoid it. I think you have to confess your love to him.
He's in a coma.
No, just listen. There have been miracle stories about comas, you know. I think Ryuga-kun could become that next miracle story. You two had a bet, right? Whether or not he could make you fall in love with you or not. He had left thinking he had lost and then ended up in a coma before you could tell him that he had actually won. So maybe he doesn't want to leave the coma because he doesn't feel the need to live because you don't love him.
So you think if I were to tell Ryuga my true feelings, he'll wake up?
Exactly! Genius, isn't it? You're not the only smart one in this family, Raito.
Sayu laughed joyfully.
Then I could write a story on the miracle coma story and ace my journalism class. I'll be a writer soon enough.
Sayu, get out! A week later, Watari had fulfilled his promise.
Good morning, Raito-sensei.
He greeted happily. Raito ripped off a piece of the gauze strip with his teeth. Good morning, Watari.
How has El fared since last week?
He watched as the young doctor reapplied the gauze to El's back. He's doing much better besides the fact that he's still in this coma. The stitches in his arm are out, and there has been no infection so far. The stab wound is scabbed over, and the bruises are completely gone.
And his back and foot?
Healing. Raito carefully turned El onto his back.
Shouldn't his back be healed up by now? The wounds did not look that deep. The wound in his shoulder was worst.
The wounds aren't that deep, but they refuse to heal. They bleed at random times, and I'm at a loss of what to do with them. I'm running out of gauze.
Did you try to have him lay on his stomach?
Yes, it didn't work.
Infection?
No, I had antiseptic every day, and there are no signs of infection.
Stubbornness?
How does that come into play?
I'm sorry, Raito-sensei. I have very basic medical knowledge. I was merely trying to offer some plausible reasons.
Raito was not too fond of the dejected look Watari wore as he gazed at El. He wondered how close these two really were. He looked truly upset. Before he could try to comfort the old man, his attention was driven elsewhere.
Look at that jar of yours, Raito-sensei,
Watari exclaimed.
Do you mind if I hold it?
Raito shook his head.
Look at all these stars. This is quite impressive, Raito-sensei. How many do you have in here?
950.
Just 50 more then, right? El told me about these when he suddenly decided he was going to try to make some. He said something along the lines of, if one were to make 1,000 with a wish on each one, the wish will come true.
Yeah, that's the one.
Am I allowed to ask what it is you wished for, or was that taboo?
You mean like birthday candle wishes? I'm not sure, but I don't want to take the chance.
When do you plan on finishing them?
Tonight. Raito enjoyed Watari's company. He had never really gotten to know the elder man, as El took up his entire time when he had the chance to talk with him. The man had the most interesting stories and ideas. He explained his time in the FBI and how painful it is to take care of El. He even told Raito of some inventions he created, most of the being 94% of the technology that the world's greatest detective uses. Raito shared stories of his own, but found them lacking in comparison to Watari's. He instead listened and asked questions. When Watari had stood up, claiming it was time for him to go, Raito asked him to tell him one last story, but the elder man had ruffled his hair and stated that he really must be going. That was when the doctor realized it was nearly 10 at night. For the past 2 hours since he had been left alone, Raito continued with his stars. He wanted to finish 1,000 by the end of the mark of El's 2 weeks in a coma. He worked vigorously and didn't realize that time had passed by so quickly. May he awaken soon. Drop. May he awaken soon. Drop. May he awaken soon. Drop. With 15 minutes to midnight, Raito took a break to get dressed and brush his teeth. As he cleaned his teeth, he wondered what his family really thought of him living at his clinic until El awoke. Isha was sitting in death row as he flossed. But did they believe the same ideas as Kiyomi or Misa? Raito turned on the radio on the way back to El's room. Hopelessly, I love you endlessly. Hopelessly, I'll give you everything. But I won't give you up, I won't let you down, and I won't leave you falling if the moment ever comes. Next to his cot laid the nearly completed jar and a note used to keep track of the number of stars. The number written was 998. Raito chose carefully for his last 2. Number 999 was a blue sky and white cloud background with pink hearts with "I love you" written across them and pink heart-shaped locks with a key attached. Floating around the hearts was the phrase "Love is" and small Chinese calligraphy. It's plain to see it's trying to speak. Cherished dreams forever sleep. May he awaken soon, he whispered, dropping it among the others. Raito selected his number 1,000th star. a white background that reminded him of Elle's Maggie sweater with red hearts and blue polka dots. Raito's favorite part was the larger heart that shouted, "I love you!" and "For you!" He nodded and started to fold the paper. Hopelessly, I'll love you endlessly. Hopelessly, I'll give you everything. But I won't give you up, I won't let you down, and I won't leave you falling if the moment ever comes. Raito smiled at the finished star, believing it to be his best one yet. He dropped it into the jar. I love you. The heart monitor's better. There's a part of me you'll never know, the only thing I'll never show. Al frowned in his mind. This song? Again? He was an Al, wasn't he? Only Al would play this song. Speaking of Al, wouldn't he have to be dead then? His fuzzy mind struggled to remember. There was the nightclub, the drink, the car, the warehouse, the rats, the cargo boxes, Isha. What happened to Isha? The memory of Isha forcing the drug down his mouth, of laughing as he pitifully crawled away to escape like a worm from a bird, and, of course, the knife cutting into his shoulder. He had to be dead. That was why he felt so warm, so safe, and so very numb. He was dead, and most likely now. Hopelessly, I love you endlessly. Hopelessly, I'll give you everything. But I won't give you up, I won't let you down, and I won't leave you falling if the moment ever comes.
Stupid song.
He heard a faint, "But he'll waken soon." He knew that voice. He imagined that voice in his head too many times for him to count. Hopelessly, I love you endlessly. Hopelessly, I'll give you everything. But I won't give you up, I won't let you down, and I won't leave you falling if the moment ever comes. A minute later, he heard the voice whisper, I love you. Al's heart began to race and his body started to tingle. All previous numbness faded as he twitched his fingers. He heard a gasp. He struggled to move again to force more noise from that lovely voice. Raito! Right. He heard his name being called. Oh! Al! His own voice sounded so hoarse compared to the sweet melody of his companions. He felt a warm hand grasp his own tightly. Wake up! Wake up? He wondered. He tried to move his eyes, but the lids felt so heavy. He groaned. Al, stay with me! Try again, he thought, pushing himself to open his eyes. The darkness soon evaporated and a gray color appeared. He slowly moved his black eyes around, realizing he was in a dark room. His eyes landed on the number one person in his thoughts. He smiled softly. Raito. There was suddenly a large weight on his chest. He struggled to move his arm, but found a needle taped to his wrist. Raito moved back. How are you feeling? He asked gently. Tired. He felt comforted by the hand in his hair. How long? 2 weeks. You know, El, this is almost like deja vu, don't you agree? El purred in response. You fell asleep in my office and I couldn't get you off of me, remember? He nodded, noticing the choked sound Raito made when he talked. He opened his mouth, but Raito hushed him up. Shh, take it easy. You just woke from a coma after all. The fingers in his hair began to gently scratch his scalp. Go to sleep. I promise I'll be here when you wake up. Raito woke up the next morning rather cold. He tried to remember what he had done leading up to his slumber. El had woken up. He had told him to go back to sleep. He watched El sleep for a few hours before falling asleep on the detective's stomach. There was a small clattering sound, and Raito was startled out of his position. On the floor, he saw El attempting to make a run for it. Ah! He yelled, Come back here! El forced and slowly turned around. Good morning, Yagami-sensei. Yagami-sensei? What the hell? I was just about to leave, Yagami-sensei. I apologize for stepping over the boundaries of the bet, and I'll just be leaving now. Before he could take another step, Raito threw himself over the bed and collapsed at the floor by his feet. El watched him closely, blinking. The doctor scrambled to his feet, red-faced. He glanced at the floor, but noticed El's hand. Al, look at what you did! He carefully took Elle's hand in his, moving him closer to the IV bag. You don't! You forgot to take out the needle. Doesn't that hurt?
It does seem a bit out of place.
Raito sighed. I'm going to have to put it in all over again.
There was no need for that, Yagami-sensei.
Elle took back his hand and ripped the needle out.
I was just about to leave.
You can't! Raito grabbed his hand.
I can.
Elle snatched his hand away.
Can't! Can.
Can't!
Can.
I said can't! God damn it! I'm your fucking doctor! You better fucking listen to me! Elle blinked at him. I'm trying to say, you just woke up from a coma! You're a little off, and you're not completely healed.
I would think so, since I nearly killed myself trying to walk.
Your right foot is broken. Notice the cast? Elle seemed surprised to see it.
I wondered why my foot was so heavy.
See? You're not in your right state of mind yet. You forgot the IV needle. Didn't notice the huge cast on your foot.
I really need...
No, you don't! Raito ordered, shoving the man back onto the bed. You're not leaving until you're better. Just stay here, okay? Elle complied with a pout. He sulked as Raito re-entered a new needle into his vein. He noticed music playing. There's a part of me you'll never know. The only thing I'll never show.
You know,
Elle started.
I really hate this song.
Oh, this song. It's been playing non-stop for a long time now. Every time this song came on, I thought of...
Thought of what?
Nothing. It's clear to me it's trying to speak. Jabber's dreams forever sleep. An awkward silence between them filled the room, only broken by the melody over the intercom. Hopelessly, I love you endlessly. Hopelessly, I'll give you everything, but I won't give you up.
What happened to Isha?
Raito frowned at Elle's detached tone. He's waiting in death row, but Toddy says he won't give them the go-ahead until you're ready. After you had passed out, the police showed up, arrested Isha, and brought you to me.
What are my injuries?
Drug overdosed, coma, bruising in the stomach, broken right foot, large gash on your arm, a shoulder wound, and cuts on your back. Thinking back, Elle could more or less remember each wound.
I see.
Raito stood up. I need to change your bandages now. He walked to the counter and grabbed one of the many gauze rolls on the counter.
That's a lot of gauze.
Your back bleeds often, Raito answered, examining his arm. He checked his foot next. You're lucky you didn't harm your foot again. Now flip on your stomach before I make you. Elle did as he was told and shivered as cold air hit his back. Raito poked at his shoulder and Elle hissed. Sensitive nerves. Common. He made a mental note. He untied the gauze from his back and frowned. Still bleeding. Raito covered his name with more gauze. He then told Elle to flip back over. They looked at each other, as if waiting for the other to speak first. Oh God, Raito thought it's going to be like this all day. Maybe it was a bad idea to give Kiyomi at least the day off. I'm going to go change. Don't move, Raito ordered on the way out of the door. He slammed it shut and rested his back against the wood. He took in a deep breath and continued into the bathroom. He stopped in front of the mirror, leaning close to get a better look at himself. He grimaced. What a mess. I know all about your little shindig with my lover. Ah! Your sweet little Elle never told you, how he loves me and only me, Well, I'm telling you. Raito shook the thought from his head. Was that the reason Elle was so eager to leave him? Because he desperately wanted to see his lover? No. Elle said something.
I was just about to leave, Yagami-sensei. I apologize for stepping over the boundaries of the bet.
Raito smacked his head against the glass. Of course, he whispered. The bet, the bet, the bet. It all comes down to that goddamn bet! He was about to lose that man for the second time, and it was all thanks to the bet, goddamn his competitiveness! Elle watched as the door slammed shut. He sighed and pulled his left leg close to his body. He had overstepped the rules of the bet. He had disobeyed.
If I knew this would happen, I would have had to eat all those apples.
A bright blurb flashed above his head, and Elle wanted to scream. I ate all those hideous apples for nothing. They are so disgusting. I would have been eating cake if I knew I would land back here again. Elle desperately needed a mirror to hit his head on. All those wasted calories. He felt out of place. He promised he would never step foot in this office again, and Elle's going to keep his promise. He'll show him. So despite Raito's order to stay put, Elle swung heavy cast to the right. He hissed as his foot came into contact with a cat. El blinked at the small bed in the close proximity to his own bed. Looking to the sink, there was a large amount of dirty food dishes and a mini fridge. Across from the sink laid a basket full of clean clothes. El saw Raito's everyday outfit, sweaters and khaki pants, and his work outfit, black slacks, a white button-down, and a tie. He looked at the side table, hoping to see a clock, but instead he found a jar of stars. El picked the container up, examining every little star inside. There were a lot of pinks, reds, and blues, he noticed. Also many with hearts and I love you.
There sure are a lot.
He spotted a little slip of paper that lay next to where the jar had been sitting. On the paper was a list of numbers, the final number in a circle.
1,000?
He whispered.
You made 1,000.
Raito's smirking face the night of their date popped in his head. You know, El, they say if you make 1,000 and make a wish for every star, they'll come true.
May you waken soon. I love you. I won.
Don't play with those! Raito yelled upon entering the room. He snatched the jar from El's hands and quickly twisted the lid back on. If you open the jar after the 1,000th one, the wishes won't come true.
But they did come true, Raito-kun.
El answered plainly.
What do you mean?
There was a soft pressure on his lips, so quick, so light, Raito could have imagined it if it weren't for El's face centimeters from his own.
I'm awake, aren't I?
El leaned in again. A kiss, another, and another. His kisses weren't sweet as they used to be. He replaced his kiss with apples. He tasted tangy. Raito began to shake. No, stop! He pushed the detective back. El watched him closely. You don't love me. You gave up on me. You eat 3 apples a day. You have a boyfriend. El knocked the hands off his chest.
Boyfriend? I met him in the mall a few weeks ago. He told me that he knew about us. Somewhere along the lines of, I'm dating El and there's nothing you can do about it. Nah. He's nothing. A meaningless errand. I am not dating anybody. The fact that he's dating someone. I did hear, however, that you were dating somebody. El retorted. Is that why you're refusing me?
Raito's eyes widened. How did you hear that? It's a lie. A lie I told a patient because I didn't want a relationship with him. How could you have possibly heard about that?
A meaningless errand.
You mean this same guy from the mall? El nodded. No, it's impossible. They look nothing alike, acted nothing alike.
The meaningless errand is quite skilled at taking on roles and changing appearances.
Raito bowed his head. He looked so much like you, so much it scared me. They were both silent, and El was positive he could see tremors in his body.
Raito-kun.
The doctor didn't look up.
Raito, do you have any cake?
Raito was quick on his feet, running toward the mini-fridge. What kind? I have chocolate cake, strawberry shortcake, tiramisu, triple chocolate cake, vanilla cake, angel food cake, cheesecake, carrot cake, red velvet cake, pound cake, sponge cake, devil's food cake, ice cream cake.
Chocolate cake is fine. Raito-kun.
Raito watched El eat his slice of cake with fascination. Could a person really eat cake with such intensity? In no time, El stuck out his plate, silently asking for another. Raito slid another slice on his plate and watched the passion all over again.
It has been a long time since I've last had cake, Raito-kun. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to stare. I do not mind. It has been a long time since I felt Raito stare at me. I enjoy that feeling.
He felt his face flush.
That's quite creepy, El. There was a chuckle of response.
I've been known to be creepy, Raito-kun.
He finished his second piece and denied a third. El leaned forward until his lips were brushing against Raito's.
I want something else sweet.
With a slight push, their lips were conjoined. Raito was shocked into a frozen state. The sugary taste of chocolate filled his mouth as El managed to break down his walls and plunge his tongue in. Raito, as if spark jolted by this familiar taste, twisted his hands in El's hair, and his tongue responded with fierce determination. His grip in El's hair and El's hold around his waist were tight and painful, clutching the other as if a tornado were brewing around them. Raito broke the first, gasping for air. He leaned his forehead against El's, shaking softly. El cooed, gently wiping away the tears. You won, he whispered. You won the moment the bet was settled. I love you. I love you. I love you.
I love you too.